All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is a meeting pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act of the Commissioners Court of Hood County, Texas. Today is Tuesday, February the 11th, 2020. It's 9 a.m. We're in the central jury room of the Hood County Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street, Granbury, Texas. I want to thank Dr. Bill Miller once again from the Hood County Pastor Council for bringing with him today Pastor Paul Duncan of the Mambrino Baptist Church, who's going to do the invocation for us today. Thank you very much, Pastor Duncan. Please rise.
Let's pray. God, we acknowledge you today, that this is the day that you have made. We have felt the blessings already today, that you make the sun rise on the just and on the unjust, and you make the rain fall on the evil and on the good. We thank you for your common grace that you have poured out on this world, and we pray now, in light of that common grace, for the consciences of the men and women in this room, making the decisions that will affect so many people and so many families, businesses, and institutions. God, give them wisdom and give them help. We pray that they would show no partiality, either to the rich or to the poor. And we pray that they would be selfless in seeking the good of the citizens of this county. And we pray that as they disagree with one another, that it would not be personal, and that they would not take disagreements personally, but they would be able to work out differences with kindness and with wisdom and with respect for the good of the county. So God, we pray this morning for wisdom and for unity, for the love of the people of the county to grow, and for the good of every citizen here. And Father, we ask for this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Y'all join me to pledge of allegiance to this great nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Pastor Duncan. Okay, are there any special presentations today? Yes. No special presentation. If anybody here would like to speak on anything that's on the agenda today, if you will go back to Sheriff Deeds there, he has a public participation form that you can fill out. I've already gotten 2, and we will call you at the appropriate time. So if anybody else needs one, ask Sheriff Deeds for it and fill it out, give it back to Sheriff Deeds, and he will bring it back to the Commissioners Court. Okay, the next item is the consent agenda. Does any of the commissioners wish to pull anything off of the consent agenda?
No, sir.
Okay. Do I hear a motion then?
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Deaver to accept the consent agenda. Do I hear a second?
Second. Oh, I'm sorry.
Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, the next item is business to be discussed. Don Lenny, our famous road ops person, has told me he has nothing on the agenda today. But we do have stuff from Clint Head in charge of the development company. Good morning, Mr. Head.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Development has accepted applications for the following replats: Oak Country Estates, Tracks 1 and 2 in Precinct 2, Rolling Creek Ranch, Phase 3, Lots 239 and 240 in Precinct 3, Rolling Creek Ranch, Phase 3, Lots 191 and 192 in Precinct 3, and Nassau Bay 1, Lot 29R, Block 4 in Precinct 3. Staff recommends setting the public hearing for all of these replats at the March 24th, 2020 Commissioners Court.
What time, what day, Clint?
March 24th.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion that we set a public hearing for those following tracks on March 24th.
Your second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner White. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All 4 hearing replats will be set for March 24th, 2020. Thank you, Mr. Head. The next item is financial. I understand that our county auditor is sick. If she has coronavirus, straight to Wuhan, okay? Tell her. You can take
Yeah,
over, Glenn.
She sends her regrets, but she fell ill last night. Judge, Commissioners, please consider payment of invoices for the period January 23, 2020 through February 6, 2020, and take appropriate action. The expenditures for February 11th Commissioners Court is $513,645.95. The court has been given advance copies of the invoice information, along with information on payments over $10,000. Are there any questions regarding any of these invoices?
Anybody have any questions? Do you recommend payment?
Audit Department has reviewed all the invoices for this court and recommends payment.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we pay the bills.
Okay. It's set by Mr. Commissioner Eagle made a motion, but go ahead.
I'll make the figures $513,645.95.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to pay the bills in the amount of $513,645.95, second by Commissioner Cotton. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next item under miscellaneous. Good morning, Ms. Nelda Walters.
Good morning.
Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve issuance of RFP for outside auditors as current contract is ending. Request for procurement. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay. We brought this up briefly at the last Commissioners Court meeting and decided to table it since we were going to give you more opportunity, and we just had a quorum. We were missing a couple of commissioners, so.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, here we are again. We need to issue an RFP for an outside auditor. In the past, the Commissioners Court has always been very involved in this because they actually work for you, the auditor, and our juvenile and adult probations. In the past, they have at one time requested to interview anybody that puts in a bid. The question is, do you want to do an RFQ or an RFP? An RFP is more cut and dried, in my opinion, because with an RFP, they will give you a price. If you do an RFQ, by law, you cannot ask for pricing. So, you know, it's kind of whatever y'all want me to do is how we'll do it. And then you need to decide if you want me to write in there that there may be interviews requested.
I know we've done that. I think the last time we did this, well, they had the pricing. Of course, we got three new court members on, that were involved in it. And we did the interviews, and it's kind of up to the court if y'all want to be a part of the interviews. I think it was very good the last time we did it, and it's completely up to y'all if y'all want to be involved in it, the selection process, or let the auditor and purchaser take care of it.
Actually, we do a graded, weighted evaluation, so there are questions, and they're on the back of those sheets that I gave you. There is the questions that will have to be answered by an evaluation team. My opinion is that there are a lot of people in the county that don't really know how the finances work. Even myself, you know, and I don't feel that I have the knowledge to really grade some of this stuff. It's always been the commissioners that have done it. So if you would keep that in mind as you make your decision, I would appreciate it. Now, Shelley
like the
Shelley will be
suggestion.
part of it,
Yeah,
too.
I like the suggestion, don't you?
We get to sit down and interview each one of them, and that's how we did it the last time. And
Yes.
I thought it worked very well, but
Is it done in a workshop?
no, it was just, we all workshop, and then we went to executive session and viewed all of them, just like we do an employee, and then either table it or come out and make a decision on the one when we come out executive session.
Oh, but you interview them out in open session?
No, we interviewed them in executive session, just like employees.
I like that old deal about eyeballing somebody, especially if they're messing with my money.
I
Don't
know
y'all?
in the past, Judge, we, in the commissioners' training, been advised to maybe change auditors every 4 to 5 or 6 years, because you get an auditor that's been in there, and they kind of get a little stale sometimes, and it's kind of, we've been advised to kind of maybe flip the outside auditors every 4 to 5 to 6 years.
And that's what-
That's about the time period now, isn't
It is, it's 5 years.
Yeah.
Good. Do I hear a motion?
I can make that motion to do the RFPs, and like to do the interviews, and I guess we will do who will do the grading system? Will,
Y'all will.
okay, we'll do that during the interviews, right?
You, the court will, Becky Kidd, the auditor will, and Shelley Berry, who's over our juvenile and adult probation, because they also do their internal audit as well.
And I guess we'll let you be the person the auditor, or will you be the one set up the workshops where we can have a meeting and interview each one of them? Who will set that date up?
Y'all will just need to arrive at a date, and then I can call them all.
Contact them. Okay.
Contact them after we've opened them and stuff
Okay.
like that.
When is the existing contract up?
In July, but we always start it very early.
Okay.
That needs to be done pretty quick.
Quick.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Commissioner Deaver has made a motion to approve the issuance of an RFP for outside auditors and for the interviews and for the executive session, and to involve, of course, you, Nelda, and to involve the auditor and the adult probation. This has been seconded by Commissioner Cotton. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Walters.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm glad that Miss Berry came in just in time to see that she's going to get to participate in this.
Okay. Number 2, Jay Riley. Here's our Hood County hero for the month of January and February so far here. It's to discuss and consider requests to pay for additional piping needed when installing a boiler in the jail from capital projects, which is Fund 55. This expense was not anticipated and is considered a component of the boiler and should be classified as a capital project. Mr. Riley.
Okay, the way that went, we put the 2 new boilers in the jail. On the north boiler room, we discovered some leaks in the piping during installation. I did not plan for that. So what happened is I looked at that as a maintenance issue, so I sent it through for payment from my budget. When it got to auditing, I found out that wasn't the correct way to do that. The outside auditors, I believe, when they caught it, said because it was part of that job, that it needed to be part of capital, not my budget.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'd like it to be grouped under capital expenditures as part of the whole project.
That was the cost you weren't expecting. You was expecting the boilers and not the extra
That's
piping.
exactly
Yeah.
right. When we
Yeah.
started moving things around, stuff started leaking, so.
Yeah.
Well, I just went ahead and chose to repair it.
Yeah, it's really just a matter of
Journal entry?
where it's paid from, the capital expenditures versus.
The bill has done been paid, right?
I'm sorry?
Has the bill done been paid?
No, sir, this is the outstanding at this time.
Okay.
I had sent it through for payment.
Okay.
That's how it got
Okay.
caught.
Okay.
What's it, about 3,500?
How much?
It's, hold on, I'm sorry. I've got it right here. It's $4,019.
Jay, I got a question. If you hadn't replaced that boiler, would you have had to replace these pipes anyway? or did that cause the leak because you replaced the boiler?
No, it was bad.
So-
I would have had to.
So my question is, then if you didn't replace the boiler, would you have had to fix these leaks anyway?
Yes.
And if you did, would you capitalize that, or would it go under your maintenance budget?
No, sir, I would have.
So I know that's, and it doesn't make any difference to the county, the money's the money. It's putting it in the right bucket, and I suppose I still support the auditor. If you want it in the capital budget, that doesn't hurt the county one way or the other, I don't think, so.
That was
But it was a
kind
little
of
bit of
my
a,
mindset
it was a little
when I
bit of a
did it.
controversy, because I know you kind of wanted to put it in your maintenance budget, and the auditor didn't want to.
Right, and I didn't plan for it. I probably should have.
Hey, you can't be a prophet about everything here. Everything you saved us $50,000 at the last meeting, so a lot of you that weren't here. So a guy that saves us $50,000 on a project, he comes by. This is actually money that you're wanted to take out of your own budget.
Correct.
And Becky says, no, it comes out of Fund 55.
Right, I didn't quite understand the whole
Yeah. Okay.
setup.
I don't either. I still don't.
Well-
I don't think, it doesn't matter to me.
If we,
And you're correct, if he walked in there one day and these pipes needed replacing, it cost $4,000, it would have come out of the maintenance budget, but because it was done at the same time as the boiler project, and that project grew and necessitated these other repairs, it really becomes part of the one whole project that one C capitalized.
Good. Okay, I think we understand it. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Okay. Commissioner White has made a motion that the payment for additional piping from the boiler in the jail come from capital projects or Fund 55. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Deaver. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Judge.
Down to 46 now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Item number 3, discuss and take appropriate action regarding requesting the county judge to sign and renew our internet service agreement. Mr. Drew Whitaker.
Gentlemen, how are you this morning?
Good morning, sir.
Well, it is that time again to sign a contract with a company for internet services for all of our locations. Now, I have went out and gotten 4 quotes. The cheapest is Charter at about $14,500 a month, $14,500 a month. AT&T came in second place at $19,000 a month. GTT came in third place at $21,000 a month, and TXP came in fourth and last place at $25,000 a month for internet services for the county. I recommend going with Charter, who is our current provider of internet services.
All provide the same services?
That is correct. That is correct.
So Drew, by going back out for these bids, you've put them all where they're all going to come do it one time, now all the contracts, and you've
Yes.
saved $1,000 a month.
Yes, and so the way they divided all of this up, it's not a single contract. It's divided up by building and then by voice or internet, which comes out to be like 14 contracts when it's all said and done. And currently, right now, we pay about $15,600 a month. So I was able to reduce the price because they all had a bid against each other, and Charter, again, came in lower. So we'll actually be saving the county about $12,000 a month currently for each year.
Well, I don't think very many of us can second guess Drew Whitaker, can we?
Not on IT.
You don't own any stock in Charter, do you, Drew?
No, I don't.
That was my only concern there, so, anyway. Okay, do I hear a motion regarding the internet services agreement?
I'll make the motion for the county judge to sign the renewal on our internet service agreement with Charter.
Hear a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you,
Mr.
gentlemen.
Whitaker.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Item number 4, discuss and take appropriate action regarding proposed amendment to rules of Hood County, Texas for on-site sewage facilities to allow certain exceptions to ongoing maintenance requirements. Ms. Janie Stacks, good morning.
Morning,
Okay.
Judge, Commissioners. In 1999, the state of Texas granted Hood County extensive powers to regulate and enforce strict rules regarding Hood County, which is located entirely within a watershed that drains into Lake Granbury and the Brazos River. Local Government Code 231.221 through 231.331. The powers granted under this subchapter are for the purpose of promoting the public health, safety, peace, morals, and general welfare, encouraging recreation, and safeguarding and preventing the pollution of the state's lakes and rivers. Findings, as we know it, according to that law, are: 1, all of Hood County is located in a watershed. The area that surrounds Lake Granbury and the Brazos River in Hood County is and will be frequented for recreational purposes by residents from every part of the state. We know that as Hood County is the 9th fastest growing county in the nation, not just in the state of Texas, in the nation. Orderly development of the area and watershed is a concern of the entire state. And without adequate development regulations, the area and the watershed will be developed in ways that endanger and interfere with the proper use of that area as a place of recreation to the detriment of the public safety, morals, and general welfare. For 22 years, Hood County has required maintenance contracts due to the commissioners of Hood County adopting an order. This first order was adopted March 9th of 1988. Those amendments to the state's OSS rules are still enacted today. More stringent requirements that all site and soil evaluations in Hood County must be conducted by a professional sanitarian or professional engineer. They must also possess a current license as set forth in the OSSF rules. B, more stringent requirements that any property located in Lake Granbury or located adjacent to a flood hazard must have a professional design conducted by a professional sanitarian or professional engineer. C, more stringent requirements that maintenance must be conducted by a valid maintenance company according to 285 OSSF rules. And D, more stringent requirements that a permit will be required for all structures regardless of acreage. Most of the neighboring counties to Hood County require a licensed individual conduct the maintenance. Tarrant County does not. However, all of the water areas that are affected in Tarrant County that are not on a centralized sewer system are regulated by the Tarrant Regional Water District, requiring maintenance contracts on systems and or limiting the type of system with relation to the bodies of water. Other counties in the state are currently in the process of requiring maintenance contracts. And one of the things that affect Hood County is Hood County has well over 5,000 aerobic systems that require those maintenance contracts. In January of this year, Hood County received 63 complaints regarding OSSFs. 48 of those complaints came from the maintenance providers. In other words, that maintenance provider found a problem and the homeowner would not correct it. There are instances, and I have pictures on my phone of the water that is actually going into the lake. I've had maintenance providers tell me that in neighboring areas, the subdivisions in these areas do not require maintenance contracts. When they get out of their vehicle, it smells like a sewer plant. The stench from the systems not being treated correctly or maintained correctly is affecting the neighboring areas. And these are in well-developed subdivisions. To date, for February, we have over 50 complaints. This is the 11th day. We're well on our way to 100 complaints a month. The state of Texas, if we change the rules to make it where we have less strict requirements on maintenance contracts, it can later come back and affect the water quality, what it takes for the water treatment systems that are in the county. So therefore, you're going to have higher water prices because they're having to do more work.
Did you bring anybody from the state here today?
Yes, sir.
Who would you like for one of them to explain further? Would you state your name, please, ma'am?
Yes, Judge, Commissioners, I'm Tanya Mitchell with Texas Commission.
Pull that right there. Yeah.
I'm Tanya Mitchell with Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. I am one of the members of the OSSF Program Management Team.
Okay. What can you add to what Ms. Stacks has just told us about having regular maintenance service providers as opposed to homeowners themselves maintain?
As the person who processes the orders for the state and in effect transfers our power to y'all to enforce it, the adoption of more stringent standards is a critical issue with most of them, and I am increasingly gaining more orders that are requesting, and I know I have one that just came in from a nearby county, Bosque County, in which they are going to enforce maintenance. And so it is a very prevalent issue that is coming in more and more active.
Did you happen to see, I know, to bring everybody here up to date, I think it was Mr. Steve Biggers here that first came up here that said that he would like to go ahead and maintain his own aerobic system, and that he could take some courses or whatever so that he could maintain his system so he wouldn't have to pay a maintenance contract. Did you see any of the proposed amendments that Mr. Biggers has proposed?
I did receive some information from the county on behalf of that and reviewed it, and it does reflect some older actions that have been taken by other counties. I can name one off the top of my head that's nearby, which is Kaufman County, which abandoned that process and now requires maintenance contracts. But it is a process that has been sought in other cities and counties under their authority to have a more stringent standard, to have implementation of things similar to that.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Does Hood County's regulations right now exceed the TCEQ's regulations?
The Hood County regulations right now does contain the more stringent standards. They've been updated since the ones that Ms. Stark read from the 98 order, but they do exceed the state minimum standards at this time. Y'all have many issues that y'all have addressed in reading the justifications from the 2011 amendment to address floodplain issues and so forth. So y'all have various other more stringent standards that y'all have justified as a greater protection. Most of y'all's justifications relate to protecting Lake Granbury.
I know Hood County's more of a unique county. We got a lake in the dead center of Hood County. Pretty much everything goes to that lake. I mean, everywhere you go, either to the river below the dam or upstream in the northern part of the lake. So Hood County is you can't compare Hood County to other counties. We're more unique as far as, having a lake right in the center of Hood County. And I just want to throw that in there.
Very true. I can tell you that there's another county, Brown County, in which has Lake Brownwood in it. They require maintenance as well.
Right.
What is your concern about somebody that is not a licensed maintenance provider or a registered maintenance technician? What if they've just taken some courses or have studied? Do you have any concerns about that person having the requisite knowledge and experience to maintain their system?
That would be a generalization that my authority doesn't allow, my position doesn't allow me to make. Anybody having more knowledge of how their system functions allows them to take better care of it. The maintenance contract requirement is sometimes viewed as a maintenance provider is there to maintain the system. That is not the sole function and the reason behind that reporting requirement. That reporting requirement is actually for them to submit that report a minimum of 3 times a year back to the permitting authority to ensure the permitting authority has the comfort and the knowledge to know that that system is functioning and not causing a public health nuisance without the permitting authority having to go out and review these systems on their own or wait until there's causative action, such as a complaint by a neighbor of the foul smell and an inoperative system discharging non-treated effluent. So Ms. Stacks also stated the fact that y'all have maintenance providers that are reporting that systems, even with the maintenance provider stating that the systems has issues that aren't being addressed. So, I mean, y'all have y'all's concerns right in front of you in that regard to make y'all's decision on how y'all feel. There are multiple, the people who do enact trainings for homeowners, they do different levels of training and so forth. And like I said, Kaufman County did have a very elaborate program in which you were trained by the manufacturer of your system on how to maintain it, and the homeowner themselves had to report, and yet they abandoned that and went to a requirement for a licensed maintenance provider.
Do y'all have a schools that y'all prefer or
TCEQ does not acknowledge or recognize any homeowner maintenance courses.
What do they do when they perform maintenance?
There's a variety of things that are minimum requirements, which are under our rules that it require them to verify that certain measures are in place, which is the audio-visual alarm to notify the property owner that the system is functioning properly.
So that's open the panel and push a button to see if the heads pop up, right? And the system's buzzing.
Well, that's one portion of it. They're supposed to verify that the compressor or aerator is functioning, and so that the effluent is properly being treated. They're supposed to also test for the secondary disinfection, which is the chlorine level. They have to verify that the spray heads are functioning and distributing in the fashion that they're supposed to, which is a low-angle spray head that doesn't aerosolize to allow for drift. There's a number of things and minimum checklist that goes into the requirements that Ms. Stacks can give you copies of the minimum requirement checklist that's in our rules.
do the classes that are available throughout the state, do they adequately teach a homeowner how to
Again, I can't speak to that because we don't evaluate the homeowner courses. We do not evaluate them.
Has anyone with the state ever gone around to see exactly what these maintenance companies actually do?
I can say I have not followed a maintenance provider out on his investigation, but I've only been with this program function for 2 years. We do have enforcement cases that have taken place in which maintenance providers have been addressed on deficiencies. There is a process for notice, and Mrs. Stacks has the ability to also put maintenance providers on notice for failure to comply with their duties and responsibilities as a licensee under the state of Texas.
Well, let's hear from Ms.
And
Stacks.
Judge, I have a maintenance provider here, if you would like him to come up and speak.
Sure thing.
Mitch Coleman, would you please come up?
State your name, please, sir.
Mitch Coleman.
Okay.
I own Coleman Robic Septic Incorporated. I've been in the business for 17 years. I got in the business because I was a homeowner who was frustrated with the system. At that time, a homeowner was allowed to do their maintenance system, or maintenance their system, if they went and got a wastewater license, which I did, which was a 4-day class. I went to Denton to take the class, took the test in Arlington, and then I had to go do a 2-day class with the manufacturer of my system. And that's what was required 22 years ago when I moved to Hood County. Since then, I opened Coleman Aerobic 17 years ago, and it just kept one of those things that snowballed. My neighbor found out I was doing it, and they're like, well, why don't you take care of mine? I said, I can't really do that. Well, then I started a business, and it just snowballed from there. I'm now the largest maintenance company in Hood County, Erath County, Somerville County. I take care of more systems than anybody else around here. We have probably about 2,500 systems we service. And the stuff we've seen over the years, and it's just not Oak Trail Shores, it's Bentwater, Mallard Point, systems that are failed. That people just don't call us or won't even do anything until the toilet don't flush. And that's what I've seen over the 17 years. So my concern is a homeowner will not call or sometimes won't fix stuff until they actually end up in court. After we've reported it, and the county has to give them 30 days, another 30 days, and by then it's 90 days. And sometimes we make our second inspection since we found the violation and it's still there. It takes that long to get stuff fixed. So if you all decide to change the rules, I have no idea what this county's going to look like. I used to take care of homes in Tarrant County. They dropped the maintenance there. And even when there was maintenance there, you'd go to those houses that were just miles long, subdivisions, and you'd be doing your maintenance and you could just smell the odor then.
Maintenance contract's about $150 a year.
Right around that, yes.
And this is with all due respect, but how many maintenance contracts do you carry on the average in a year?
We serve
Coleman Electric, Coleman
we have
Aerobic.
about 2,500. And that's just not Hood County, that's the other counties too.
In your opinion, what does it take to have sufficient knowledge to service your own aerobic system? I mean, what would be the basic amount that you would have to? You talked about what you did back 22 years ago. I'm sure that the systems have become more or less sophisticated or whatever, but what is, in your opinion, the basic knowledge that you would have to go to in order to be able to take care of your system? Okay, that's the first question. Then the second problem is, how do you know that that individual, if he has the knowledge, is going to do what's required of him and then do the reporting? So it's like two parts to this problem. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right, so please answer the first.
Okay, my background, I moved here from Colorado. I had a Colorado journeyman's plumber license, and I had a Colorado journeyman electrical license. But then when I moved to Texas, I went ahead and kept my electrical license. So my background is heavy industrial electricity is my background. What I carried here, that's why I came to Texas, was to pursue that. So I had a plumbing background and electrical background. These systems are plumbing and electrical. You got electrical pumps, you got water pumps, compressors, control box, alarms. So you need some sort of electrical background, and that's usually what gets a homeowner in trouble, who we'll sell parts to somebody if they want them. They come in, they buy their own pump. Well, probably 8 out of 10, we have to go wire up the pump after they unscrew it, screw it in, because they can't figure out how to hook the wiring back up. And like I had said earlier, my problem is even when we report a issue, sometimes it's still there 4 months later when we come back, the same issue. So my concern is if a homeowner does their own report, what stops this homeowner from saying, all's good? Just because I got the caps off of my clean out and the sewers running on the ground, which I have found multiple times. My inspectors have pictures of stuff like this. I've had inspectors call me and send me pictures and said, I refuse to go in this yard. It is so bad. The water is so deep, the sewage is so deep. They refuse, my inspectors, who are trained, wear the proper gear, refuse to go in these yards because it's so bad. And I'm not saying it's just the lower income neighborhoods. It's prevalent in all neighborhoods. So my concern is, we report it, and a lot of times, even after we report it, the county goes after them for 4 months, it's still there. So if nobody goes there to find it, unless a neighbor happens to complain, we're going to have sewage running down the street. I've seen people take the time to dig ditches away from their system, away from their house, to get rid of the sewer, instead of calling and have somebody fix it.
So let me get this straight. You report a problem and the county takes 4 months to go do something about it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's a way they have to go through this process. They give them notice to get repair, and Jeannie could probably explain that better than me, but it takes time. Homeowners can ignore these letters, say they never got their letters, so I'll let her explain that.
Once they turn the report in, we fill out a complaint form, an inspector goes out and inspects. We're required to give them 30 days by state law. We send a registered letter. The people of Hood County will thumb their nose at a registered letter because it's either a requirement for a maintenance contract or there's something wrong. Then we have to spend multiple trips trying to find or make contact with that property owner. Sometimes when we make contact with the property owner, they say, no, they're not signing the letter. That happened in the case of Mr. Biggers. His wife said, I will not sign the letter. My husband is taking care of this. Therefore, we can't send it. We have an issue sending it to the JPs. The JPs have now allowing us to put our orange door hanger on there, fill out the paperwork, take a picture of it, and submit it to the JP. We are getting faster results that way.
So even if they refuse to accept the letter, you can still
We can
file
put an
on it?
orange door hanger on there. It is considered delivered.
So did you hear that there was a problem with Mr. Bigger's tank or his system?
No, this was on his maintenance contract.
In other words, he didn't renew his contract?
Right.
You didn't find any environmental problem
No,
in his
no,
case?
no. There
Okay.
was no, that's what I said. We do the same thing with maintenance contract as we do with complaints.
So if somebody has a yearly maintenance contract with a aerobic system company that's licensed, bonded, all that goes for 12 months, and it expires, they notify the county, correct, that they haven't received? How does that work, sir? If you've got a contract with somebody for a year maintenance, and after the year is up, I'm sure you send a letter saying, hey, your your maintenance contract expires next month, right? Something like that? So, and you don't hear from them. What do you do when that time period ceases?
We generate a renewal contract 45 days prior to the end date that it's due, because the county likes a 30-day window, so we do 45 days to give the homeowner time. Oh, there's that contract, I need to get it filled out and send in or do it online, whatever. They have options with us. At that point, we use this tracking system called SAFE. The county also uses that system. Our dates all drive in these systems. So at that point, that's what we do. 45 days out, we send all the renewals out. At that date that their contract actually expires, there's nothing more that we actually do. Then it becomes the county's responsibility to send out the letters that, hey, you guys didn't renew your contract, you got 30 days to get a contract in place. So we don't enforce that. We're not enforcement. We just offer the service, and we give them a 45-day notice to get that taken care of.
Jeannie, do you have a list of when their service contracts go to be up? And do you all send notification or do you?
We send notification 30 days after their contract has expired.
Okay. So you're sending it before and then?
Yes.
She's sending after.
And y'all are connected. Your databases, is that correct, on your maintenance requirements or your maintenance contracts? In other words, the county automatically is going to know because of your connection with them, your reporting with the county.
With the reporting, yes.
Yeah, so all my reports are sent through an email, and then they just take the email and put it into their system. I don't know if I'm the only one that does that, but anyway.
You know, I don't doubt there's people in this county that can't maintain their systems, but with all the problems you got now with the system we have in place, is it just going to get worse, is how I'm going to look at it, because I have to look at the protection of the lake and everybody else's properties, and, you know, I know there's a lot of watershed in Hood County. That's the issue I could see. You know, I'm not saying that Mr. Biggers doesn't have the ability to take care of his system, but are we going to make the problem worse, is what I look at. But does the law say they have the right? You know, local government code, I read in there, says they have the right.
But if I can inject, okay, my technicians have to go to a maintenance technician class, and it's done by Tawa, who hosts the class. And it's a full-day class. You have to actually go to a classroom and attend the class, and then they take a test to pass the test. And part of that testing, too, is my technicians are all background checked by the state of Texas. So, you know, if the maintenance company's following the rules, then their technicians are certified, and they're also background checked. Myself, background checked. Jeremy's background checked. Everybody in the company that goes on anybody's yard has a background check and a license. So a homeowner doing this online course, it's an online course. There's no interaction with anybody else in the classroom. There's nobody there that has any knowledge other than what you're reading on a screen, and, you know, anybody can read a screen and click up this button and say, yeah, that's the right answer. But if you go to a class where you actually have, because the class has discussion, other people have questions. Well, how do you know if this is the problem, or what would you do if this was the problem? And the teacher of the class is very well knowledged. I've taken several of his classes over the years, and he's a very knowledgeable person, and he challenges the people in the class, because when you leave that room, you're going to go out and perform a service for a payment. So if a homeowner wants to do it themselves, like when I did it, it was a more stringent thing than taking a couple-hour class on the internet. I had to physically go take a 4-day class and get a wastewater license. I had no need for a wastewater license, but I wanted to perform my own maintenance. Then I had to drive to Beaumont for a 2-day class at Hydro Action and get certified by Hydro Action so I could maintain my own system. I turned my wastewater license into the county, and my certification from Hydro Action to James was the guy at the time. And at that point, I was able to do my own system. But I do not feel a couple-hour class on the internet is sufficient, you know, for a homeowner to know what they're doing, especially if they have no clue what's going on out there anyway.
So let me try to summarize what you just said. You think that they should have a background check? Am I getting that straight? Your homeowner?
No.
Okay.
I'm
So
just
that
saying
one's not an issue.
Yeah, that's for payment. That's like one of my employees
If
going
you
out.
send somebody to somebody
Yes.
else's house, right?
They should have a background check.
And is there anything that you would be okay with for a homeowner to do, short of becoming an aerobic company, where they can maintain their own septic system?
I think if a homeowner wants to do it, they ought to have the same requirements as my technicians, not my provider license, it's different, but a minimum of a technician's license. If they want to go sit through that class, like I said, it's an 8-hour class with a test on the following day, so it's a 2-day thing. It's usually done on a Friday and a Saturday. So I send my technicians down on Thursday night, they go do the class on Friday and Saturday, and they spend the night down there. So if a homeowner wants to do it themselves, I think, like I said, when I did it, it was a 4-day deal in Denton, and then I had to go to Arlington to take the test. So I think if somebody really wants to do it, I think they ought to at least do the minimum requirement that I'm required. They don't have to do the background check, but the minimum requirement of at least having a maintenance tech class.
And if they did that, you would be more, at least, amenable to that concept of letting them do their, because, I mean, we're talking, here's what my heartburn is. A person owns their property. Property is a sacred right in this state.
Oh, no.
And so unless it's going to affect other residents or neighbors, this goes back to nuisance law that we study in law school. A person has a right to do with what they want on their property with limitations. So I really want to see that from my seat up here, that the property owner is also considered his right to do with what he wants on this property as long as it's not hurting anybody else. Mm-hmm. And I know that Mr. Biggers has gone out and done quite a bit of work on this. You're saying he did an internet course. I don't know that. But anyway, that's just my comments at this juncture. Mr. Biggers hadn't spoken yet, so I'm just putting that out as a point of discussion.
I understand. That's why I did it myself too. And I went through the hoops that were required in those days, and there was no easy way to do it then. It was actually, I spent the money to go take a class that was a state class, drove to Denton every day to do that, and then I paid for the state test, which I had to go do in Arlington. So there was a fee on both. I actually had a state license when it was all said and done, and then I had to pay to go down there. So I don't have a problem, because I am one of those people.
Once you get that certification, how long, how good is it? What's the length of the?
3 years.
So you got to retest?
Yes.
You got to recertify every 3 years?
Recertify, yes.
Yeah.
Do you have to pass another test in 3 years?
No, you just have to redo a background check and pay your fee on the tech license. There's no more. Now, provider license like I hold, I have to have credit hours during the 3-year period to maintain my license and my installer license.
So to get a tech license, you got to go to classes for 2 days?
It's a day and a half class, basically. Yeah, you have a full day of class, review, and then you take a test. And normally they have you graded and everything before you leave.
Then every 3 years you renew?
You renew that license, yes.
Just renew like a driver's license?
Right. Correct. Yeah,
You don't have to do any apprenticeship under anybody for any length of time?
Not to get that license, no. There's an apprenticeship, but that's something different.
Jeannie, did you want to add anything?
I think, to be fair to Mr. Coleman and Mr. Biggers, the reason Mitch Coleman has the maintenance provider company he has is because Mitch Coleman had a problem with the maintenance contract requirement of Hood County 17 years ago. Therefore, he went and fixed it where he could maintain his own system.
But Mr. Biggers doesn't have to go start a company up, right?
No,
Okay,
no,
I'm just
saying, he went the extra mile to do that. We are trying to show that there is something Mr. Biggers can do to get what Mr. Biggers wants.
Well, I guess we need to hear from Mr. Biggers then and see what he's done, to see if he's done. So, Mr. Biggers? Okay.
It's been one of the hardest things to do, is sit there and listen to this, sir, because some of the truth is not out there. First, let's get a current map. You guys have a brief that I gave you over the last 60 days. I've had a chance to talk with each one of you, give you the brief. You have this map in there. But for the people that are vested in interest in this, let's let them see the map. This is a current map per county order. 16 counties in the state, currently in the state. They mandate homeowners doing this. No ifs, ands, or buts. They adopt the TCEQ rules that we've already alluded to, the TCEQ rules. Thank you, Commissioner White, for alluding to this. They allow the homeowners to do it, no testing, no reporting, nothing, period. And then they let the counties decide if they want to go a little more stringent. In this case, this county has, with 15 other counties in here. Now, I appreciate Mr. Coleman being here, and for the points that I brought up with his original brief when I gave to you gentlemen, one of them was the county imposing financial liabilities on certain homeowners. 5,500 people have this in the county, and the commissioners have said over the past years when they've adopted this, you 5,500 people have to pay. Well, wait. Why do we have to pay and not everybody else is putting septic in the ground? Whatever system they happen to have that applies to that. The other thing was the county is endorsing a private industry. Thank you, Mr. Coleman, for being here. You've made lots of money off people like me saying, I have to pay this. You went and got your training. Absolutely great. I applaud that. I went and got my training. I drove to Seguin 2 days down there, sat in a class, listened. I didn't take anything on the internet. I wanted to be brought up to speed on this. It's my property. I'm going to take better care of my property than some stranger tech that I don't know coming on my property and having do his thing and then be there for 15 minutes and gone to the next one and make another $50 and another $50. I think if you follow the money, you'll find out why people like providers are here, because it's going to take money out of their pocket, and they have the fear. I understand the fear. I understand your fear, Commissioner Deaver, about the watershed part of it. When you look at your particular district, the watershed map comes from the up north above us and all the way down. Where is it fair for the gentleman that owns 10 acres on the other side of Lipan, that's 25 miles away from the lake, that he has to pay somebody $275 a year to come out and lift the lid, push the alarm, see the heads are floating, and go? There's no fairness there. And when you and once again, when you look at the watershed map, it isn't in that. The watershed area does not encompass Biloxi or Lipan. Then these people still have to pay that because they're in Hood County. The third thing is, you guys are opening up, when they have these rules, opening up me as a homeowner, potential liabilities to this company. Once again, I'm glad Mr. Coleman's here. When I bought my property in 2016, they had the existing contract on my property. I was ignorant to these systems. I really was. I thought it was a watering system for my yard. Oh no, it's a septic system. I came up to speed on it. I called Coleman's. I said, please bring me up to speed on this. Tell me what you guys do. Well, when we come out, we'll check this, this, and that. Well, you need to call me and tell me when you're coming out. I have an aggressive dog. My gates are locked. I don't want anybody bit. Oh no, we don't have to call you when we come out. No, you do have to call me when you're coming on my property. I need to know when people are on my property. The representative from Mr. Coleman said, no, we don't have to call you, and we will turn you into the county. And there are probably people in this room that have that horror story. I have heard it. I know a friend that has a ranch down on the Johnson County or Hood County line, zip-tied the lid to their septic system 6 months ago. The provider's never been there and is charging them $275 a year. I know people that have called me and said they have to go through my house to get to the tank system. They never show. There are bad apples in every group. I got that. I understand. But those people are making money over forced regulations that the county is putting on us, when people like me that want to take that extra step, want to take that training, get involved, take care of my system better than anybody else is going to take care of my system, and not take an internet class, but go and sit in class and learn, take the test, buy the equipment, and do that. And third, you know, it's you guys, and I'm glad you brought up the driver's license things, Commissioner. The state, that's probably the simplest analogy that we can possibly do. The state of Texas says, we're going to issue you a driver's license. When I came to the state, I had to relinquish my driver's license from Tennessee. I had some infractions on there. The lady said, these are going to stay on your record, Mr. Biggers, until you prove to us that you're still a good driver. Same thing with young people. The state of Texas says, take the test, we're going to give you a driver's license, and at that point in time, when you say you're not a good driver, we're going to start doing infractions or take that away from you. That's all I'm asking. If people take the time to get trained, to fill out the reports, send them in like this gentleman does, and have no violations, why not let the homeowner continue to do what they want to do and take more pride in their property? Now, as far as reporting, he says they send the reports to the county regulates it, looks at it. So in 2016, I did not renew with Mr. Coleman. I didn't quite like that attitude to say they are going to come on my property no matter what. So I renewed with another company in 2017, and they called me. They would call me and tell me when I put my dog up, they would come on. And so what I purposely did in 2017 was I disabled my head on one of my system, or part of my system, and I took my chlorine out. I did that every time they came on my property, and I got wrote up every time when they came on my property. I reestablished it, put everything back together, working fine, never heard from the county office, never. So if I'm in abuse and doing this over and over, and these systems are not working, as you've said, these rules are enacted now, and we're hearing horror stories where people don't care. And the people that are going to speed are going to speed. The people that are going to break laws are going to break laws. If they don't care about their system, they're doing it now with the regulations, and they're going to continue doing it. And they're not going to take the time to get trained, and they're not going to take the time to buy the equipment. But there are people like me that want to do that. Commissioner Cotton, you and I spoke. We spoke about a survey or study that was done from 2005 to 2010 called the Lake Granbury Watershed Protection Plan. I believe you were a stakeholder on that thing, weren't you, sir? All through that, basically it's 405 pages. I've read all of it, a lot of science. What they did, what they'd love to do with coming out, is put little septic system plants all over the county. Well, that's not feasible because it would be $1 bazillion. It'd just be too much money. But all through the study, they emphasize if the homeowner gets trained, if they partner up with Texas Ag Life, which is where I got my training, Texas A&M Ag Life, the extension course, if they would do that, the homeowners find more responsibility, more pride in their property, certainly being able to control what their system's doing, all through that study. And you guys had that in your brief. All through that study, it's highlighted homeowner training, homeowner training, homeowner training. That's what I'm advocating here. Homeowner wants to take that step and pay $150 for a course, buy $150 worth of equipment. Let them do their system. So now I don't know. Mr. Coleman says he's had this for 22 years. I've read pretty much every order that's came down from the county on this, and I have never seen an order that would allow the homeowner to do it. This county has pretty much had that stringent order all the way through. Homeowners cannot do it, homeowners cannot do it, homeowners cannot do it. 98, when it came in, I cannot find any public discussion on it, so I don't know that any public people came up to talk about it with the commissioners. The minutes don't reflect that. And then in 99, Mr. McCausland was hired, the former environmental director training, and he started writing and rewriting. So every about 5 years, the order would be rewritten. The commissioner court would vote on it. They would manipulate it and change it just a little bit here and there and those kinds of things. So you don't have discussion on it when it was enacted. And then through the 2000s, this is a problem I have when you start researching these things. Early 2000s, we had a commissioner sitting on the court, Precinct 3, and he had a brother that he was partners with in the septic tank business and never recused himself when this votes came up. And who knows what kind of stifling on conversations like I'm bringing up, saying, oh, we don't need to discuss that. That is not right. He should have recused himself on voting for anything, and his brother's still in the business of septic tank maintenance. So he's written himself a check for years, just like Mr. Coleman's got for years, getting money from the public when they can do it. And the final thing I have, the issue I have with that, other than just the fact the evasion of private property rights, just like Commissioner Eagle's saying, Mr. McCausland was hired in 99, was there for 20 years. And that's where he and I first met each other. And when I went down and told him that I was going to do some changing on that, well, you have to have a permit. You have to get an architectural sanitation, registered sanitation, draw up a plan, and spend the money. And then I told him, I'm going to put it in the ground myself. I'll do it. I'm capable of doing that. No, you're not. Yes, I am. I can do that. There are no rules and regulations in this county. As a homeowner, I can buy my permit, I can find my registered sanitarian to draw up the plans, basically the architect. I can buy the equipment, I can put the equipment in the ground, I can wire it up, I can get the county out, and they say, everything looks great, you've done a good job, I can cover it up and get it working. Oh, but now you have to have a maintenance contract? I'm just the person that put that in the ground and got it running up to your standards, and you got to tell me I got to have some stranger come on my property for the next bazillion years, as long as this is enacted, to be able to pay them to say, yeah, everything's running well. Well, yeah, I put it in the ground. I know it's going to be running well. And back to Mr. McCausland real quick. 20 years he wrote and rewrote these rules to be able to follow in the county. Mr. McCausland retires, hangs his shingle out as a registered sanitarian. You have to go to him to be able to follow some of these rules in the county, which is wrong. Absolutely wrong. There's other people that do it, other people in the county that do it, but his name is put up down at the environmental office, all these names of sanitarians, installers. Mr. Coleman's name is down there as a provider. People should be able to do this themselves. People with my capabilities that want to step out and do the extra training, buy the extra equipment, follow the rules with the reporting, and the environmental department has Once a year, they can come on my property and check it out. They have that right. Just let me know. I don't want you to get dog bit.
Let me ask
So-
something, Mr. Biggers. You said you altered it, you altered your system?
I changed it. My heads were in my backyard. I fenced off my backyard, and I have animals, so I didn't want to bring in mud in there when it was wet. So I moved it to the side yard. I have 2.2 acres. So I had to get the registered sanitarian down there. They drew up the map where to put the heads to be able to flow. I can read all that stuff. I followed that, put it in the ground. The county came out. They looked it all over. You're all good. They covered it up and gone.
Did you alter it before or after they came out?
No, I waited for them. Right. That head was actually broken. When I bought my system, that head was broken on that piece of property. I attached onto it after I got the plans and what to do.
I know you told me that you've put a zip tie on your system before and nobody's came out and checked it.
Lock my gate. I lock my gate, you zip tie the lid. Mine's zip tied anyway. It's just easier without doing screws every time, but they don't cut it. Plus, I asked them to let me know when they're coming in previous contracts so I could be there.
I'll tell you this, Mr. Biggers, these regulations that we have in place, they're to protect the county and the lake and the water. They're not to promote somebody's business. And
I understand that, and when you look at that, I appreciate that. And when you look at the counties around, when you look at these counties, the watershed is huge. So Lake Brazos River Authority, it goes all the way up to Amarillo, following that way. All these counties surrounding allow people to do it. I don't know that there's a tremendous amount of problem in these things, and maybe there are some changing. But even in the Lake Granbury Watershed Protection Study that Mr. Cotton was a part of, it states in there multiple reasons that you get watershed off. Migratory fowl, cattle, horses, wildlife, and septic systems. I'm not trying to negate that. But I'm saying there's a tremendous amount of affecting going on here. And when they tested the lake, they found no problems with the body of the lake. There was no high content of E. coli. The lake and the reservoir was fine. The problems they had were with the canals and the backwater coves when this was developed, that you don't get any fresh water running through them all the time. So there's not a major problem within the river or the reservoir at all.
Mr. Biggers, by the way, just for the record, what is your address?
105 Chaparral Drive.
are you in a watershed?
I'm not. I don't believe so. I mean, I don't know how, probably on the north side where the program is, yes, but it encompasses the whole north side of the county. Because I don't think the whole county's in the watershed.
Mr. Biggers' property is approximately 1,900 feet from a canal at Granada, Cali.
About nearly half mile, okay.
And here's the other thing with these systems that people have not said yet also. These systems are not underground and leaching out. These are evaporatory systems. 65 to 85% of the water put out evaporates, depending on the time of year. If it's hot, cool, that sort of stuff. It doesn't all go, and our ground table water probably is 200, 150 to 200 feet deep.
Okay. Mr. Head?
All property, no matter where you're at, is in a watershed. His property, the way I understand, is in Chaparral. He's in a sub-watershed called the Bee Creek watershed. Everybody's in a watershed.
What is the significance when Ms. Stack says that he's 1,900 feet from this canal? What's...
Well, just shorter distance to get to the body of water. But everybody's in a watershed. Their runoff's going to go.
Is he in the Clearwater District?
He's in the Water Quality District.
Water Quality, I'm sorry. That's within a half a mile of the lake, right?
Right.
So I've just got to, I got to ask this question. I'm sorry, I just can't hold it back. So what do we do about all the cows walking around? I mean, there's just I'm missing something here, especially if you're 1,900 feet from a creek. Anyway, I guess cows are exempt.
Can I say something?
Sure.
If you look at the map, all these counties down here along the coastline, the city of Houston, that county allows homeowners to do it. The water table is 6 feet deep probably down there, and the elevation level, obviously, Harris County allows the homeowners to do it. People that are, there's Possum Kingdom up the road, Whitney Lake down the road. Those people allow the homeowners to do it. I'm not saying blanket take everything away. Make us get trained. Have us get trained. Have us send in reports. At any given time, tell us you're going to come out and check our system. Fine, come on out. Just don't get dog bit. I don't want you to get dog bit. So it's not a blanket, take an internet course and sign off on it. It's the same thing as driver's license. I'm going to entrust you to be a good driver. Until you prove me wrong, you have the right to drive. When you prove me wrong, then I'm going to take that right away from you. That's what the state says with people with driver's license. It's that obvious.
Ms. Stacks.
And Mr. Eagle, TCEQ does regulate the cows through confined animal feeding units, and there are standards that those large feed yards, et cetera, do have to meet.
I feel so much better now.
Okay.
I sure do.
Question, Judge. Go ahead. Judge.
And they cause global warming, too. I forgot that.
Can I say something?
When you get through, call that person.
Okay.
And it'd probably be easier if I approach the bench. Would that be okay?
On 165. Okay.
And our contract also states that
Yeah, I'm fixing to make that statement.
Okay, go to the podium and say this, please, so she can get it on the record.
I just wanted to correct the record about the price of a maintenance contract. It is not $275, it's $165, and that's our cost, our company's cost. And our contract is always maintained and always has had the ability for a call before. I just want to correct the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
I check your employees, sir. I got one question, Mr. Biggers. You say you went, of course, we're supposed to have a 5-minute time limit. Drew, when we start the next, we need to start that. But we done went beyond that point. The next speaker will do a 5. But you said you've done all your training, all the certification. What are you, Jenny, what is he lacking to be certified in your opinion? And I get it. I get what you're saying.
I think if they took the maintenance technician course that's offered through TOA, then they would have, that's a class you take and take a test.
So does our regulations say if you're certified through this, you
Yes.
can maintain your own roping system?
Yes,
In other words, you have to have a license. Is that what you're saying?
yes,
And the way to get that is go through that training.
yes.
I have no problem with that if a person wants to do, and I understand, I'm with you. I think I could maintain my own because I'm a farmer. I know how things work. But if I had a aerobic system I live out in the country, I would take this course where I could maintain my own. And I understand you've done a lot of training, but if you like one more step, I would get that, and we could say, let's go.
But here's the deal. The program that I am trained under was recommended in this study that Mr. Cotton was a part of. It's Texas Ag, all through the state. Texas Ag works with that. It is a recognized program that's accepted by many, many counties now throughout the state.
But that wasn't to get your license. That was an outreach program by the Watershed Protection for all of you homeowners having these systems. It was training you needed to maintain your, but not to give you a license. That's not what the ag program did.
And there's a different degree there, sir. There's a license that Mr. Coleman has, and he has his techs that work underneath him. I have tech training. Through A&M Ag Life, I have tech training is what I have.
He has a piece of paper that says he completed a class.
You don't recognize A&M as a registered leader, training institution?
There is one gentleman in the state of Texas that teaches those AgriLife classes.
He's an OS2 installer.
Mr. Biggers, I'd look at it this way. If somebody was giving me the opportunity to take care of my own system, I'd go get the license, the tech license.
I'm open to listen. I truly am. That's why I brought it to the point where I say, let people get training. Let them do their own maintenance once they've had that training, not open the door, that sort of thing. Mr. Deaver, I have a question for you. Do your cows fall underneath her regulations?
I'm not answering that stupid question.
Because,
I'm
sir,
not answering
but I'm
that.
saying it, sir. I'm just saying the cows.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion.
Well, we've had some people that have.
Oh, you got some stragglers that want to talk now? Okay.
Yes, I do, but we're going to be limited to 5 minutes now. This has to be done. All right, Tom Woodward? That's a maximum of 5. You can do it in less than 5, okay?
I guess I'm one of those stragglers then. Thank you for letting me talk. I built my house in 1995. I live in Pecan Plantation. I'm probably at the highest point in Pecan Plantation, and I think it was sold a bill of goods. I didn't know anything about these systems prior, and my plumber convinced me to put one of these in. In retrospect, I probably would have never done it. Over the years, I've paid this contract, now 25 years. For the first 2 or 3 or 4 years, there were only 1 or 2 providers that would work on my particular system. It's called a JET system. And I had to pay them what they asked. I've watched these techs come into the yard. Sometimes they come 3 times a year, sometimes they come 2 times a year, and I can tell this because they're supposed to put something on your door handle that they've been there. And so if they don't put it 3 times a year, I know they haven't been there. I've talked to them. I don't see, yeah, they may have 1 day of training, but I don't see them as being engineers of any type. They're technicians. My background is, if you guys remember, there was a degree called Industrial Arts back in the time. I have a BS in Industrial Arts. I'm an A&P mechanic, which is an airplane mechanic. I think I'm qualified to take care of my own system. Over the years, I've rewired it myself. I've changed the sprinkler heads. I've replaced the pumps. Now, the contract does not require them to come out to do that. They're only coming out to test the system, so I can do all that myself, and I have. I'd be willing to go through any course to do those things, to be certified to do those things. Over the years, I've paid probably $5,000 total on these contracts. Mr. Coleman says he's got 2,500 contracts. I've paid anywhere between $150 to $200 a year. That's $375,000 to $500,000 that he's making, and I don't begrudge him that. It's a great business, and he works hard at it, but I think I should be able to take care of my own system with my background. That's my point.
What's your address, sir, just for the record?
5307 Glide Slope Court.
Thank you.
Next is Andy Walker.
Good morning. I live at 2000 North Wood Duck Court in Mallard Point, and I've been a Texan all my life, 5th generation at that. Grew up in the rural Texas with septic systems, okay? So I'm familiar with the septic system. When I moved to Hood County for the first time, I had an aerobic system. And my first question is, why do I have to pay this guy to come out and flip a switch, see the light come on, and hear a horn? And that's all the guy did for over a year. I took my complaint to whatever office it is here in the county, and I was blown off, read some, corporate BS, and really disregarded what I had to say about the people not coming out and inspecting the thing. I can flip a switch, see a light come on, and hear a horn. If that's all there is to it, why am I paying this guy $100-some a year, right? So, of course, I didn't keep that contractor. I went on to another contractor, and the other ones came out, and they did all their tests and all that stuff. Sometimes they would show up every 6 months, every 3 months, whatever it was. They weren't there like they're supposed to be. I'm paying for 4 times a year to be inspected, and I get 2. Something wrong with this picture. And, this aerobic system is not rocket science. Anybody can go out there and do it themselves. Well, most anybody can go out there and do it themselves. I've replaced sprinkler heads. I've replaced the whole control box, rewired the thing because of corrosion. The faulty installation, it corroded out after a few years. So I replaced the control box. There's not that much to it. And I think that we should be able to inspect our own system, and I don't see a need to have a training to do that. I watched the technicians come out 2 times, and I'm qualified to do it. The other thing I'd like to bring up is The other type of sewer system is the drain field or leach field, whatever you want to call it.
Conventional.
Right, conventional. So if I have to pay for my aerobic system to be inspected, why aren't they paying for their conventional system to be inspected? They fail as well. And what's the failure rate on a aerobic system? Is it once every 5 years, 10 years? What's the failure rate on a conventional system? So, that's what we should be looking at rather than, forcing us to pay money to have it inspected sometimes or sometimes not be inspected. Got one more question here. Okay, so on a conventional system, and I've been around them all my life, if you get a real heavy rain, your system backs up and you're going to smell the sewer water. Where I live in Mallard Point, a heavy rain, and I'm outside, I smell the sewer coming down the hill. So that tells me that your conventional systems need to be inspected just as well as the aerobic systems. That's all I got. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next is Rick Fry.
Honorable Judge and Commissioners, I live at 8106 Godley Road. I think there's a compromise. I think it's been spoken to. I think if individuals want to take the time and spend a day and get the tech license, that there should be a mechanism that they could register with the county, present their tech license, and as long as they, like the driver's license, as long as they have no infractions, then that should be acceptable. If they have infractions and are not corrected, they should be treated like anybody else. And if they prove themselves not worthy. I think you're talking about probably less than 10% of the population that have these aerobic systems would probably step up to that level and do it. So I don't think it's a widespread issue. There's some that's near and dear to their heart, and I think that's, if they're willing to, like Steve did, to go out and get the training, get that certification, present it to the county, that may be an amendment that says if you do that and you maintain it, as long as you maintain it just like your contract, then you can go ahead and do your system. There's a lot of irresponsible people out there. Some people wouldn't change a light bulb until their wife made them. I mean, that's just the fact. So I think that we need to look at it. The real issue that we have is we live in a watershed. It's a bowl. If you're closer to the bottom of the bowl, your effluent is going to get into the lake much quicker. If you're further away from the edge of to the edges of the bowl, then it has more time to leach out, be filtered by rocks, gravel, whatever, and that's well and good. But this county is blessed to have a river and a lake, and whether you live on Robinson Creek or Fall Creek or any of the creeks, where you live, eventually the water that runs through your yard is going to this lake. And so it's incumbent on us and the commissioners to make sure that health and public safety is maintained. There's nothing worse than going outside and your neighbor's not doing their job and you smell sewer every time their system goes off. That's a problem, and that problem needs to be addressed. Sometimes maybe it's not addressed as quickly as we'd like, but there's a system. We don't want to trample on anybody's rights, but we also want to maintain a quality of life and a quality of lake. And so I would recommend strictly that if we have people who want to do that and they want to get their tech's license and they want to present those credentials and renew them and keep that on file, as long as they keep records of their own, if there's a problem, they can show those records, then I think that would be acceptable. But we still have to have some oversight because there are going to be a lot of people that would say they would do it and would not do it, and that just aggravates a problem that we already have. You saw the statistics. There's a lot of people that have problems. I just don't want to, I think there's a compromise, but I don't think we throw the whole thing out because it's too important to the quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan Criswell.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. So the lay of the land right now, the county government is forcing homeowners that possess an aerobic system to buy a service, right? And I understand that business owners around here are upset. They've had make work here for the last 20-something years. And if you go so far as to not purchase one of these service contracts, you end up in JP court. If you don't make court, you get a warrant out for your arrest. You know, it gets pretty ridiculous, especially when it's an inspection contract and not necessarily a maintenance contract. The cool thing about the free market is that even if we remove this requirement, you know, people out there are still going to get them because they know, and they're responsible enough, that they know that they can't do it themselves, or they don't want to do it, or they don't have time. You know, so for those business owners, you know, you're not going to lose all your business off of this. You know, it is a watershed, but these are evaporative systems. In the summertime, you know, you can watch your aerobic system kick on. You know, maybe 20 minutes later, it's all, you know, gone and evaporated. And nobody wants wastewater or foul smells. I think that's something everybody agrees on. So perhaps the solution here could be to just increase the enforcement for the people that are polluting and diminishing the quality of life for those around us. Thanks.
Thank you. Kathy Gwynn.
All right, well, I pretty much agree with what's been said today. We do have an aerobic system, but also I just wanted to tell you the way the JP courts handle it is that the environmental health sends us something after they have tried that 30 days, given that defendant at this point, that 30 days, and then they are sent what we call an option letter to the defendant as to what they would like to do with that, okay? They have the opportunity to come in and talk with the court after making a plea. If they don't show up, and we usually give them 15 days, so they've had that notice from the contractor, they've had the 30 days from the environmental health, and then they have another 10 to 15 days from the courts to come in and do something about it and talk to us about it. At that point, we set them for a show cause hearing, which is another 20 days out usually, and then if they don't show for that show cause, then we do have to try and send one more, either a phone call if we have that, or another option letter to them at this point. So these people that are not complying with these regulations are given usually at least 90 days before anything, and then a warrant is issued for them. And that could sit out there for 6, 8, 10 months before they're even arrested on it, because we just don't go out and arrest them. Yes, if there's a warrant roundup or something, we may go pick them up. But in the meantime, these septic systems are not working. So I agree that there are a lot of knowledgeable people that would take that and go with it and take the training, in order to, they could take care of their own septic systems. But there are an awful lot of people out there that don't care about a septic system. If their toilet flushes or their sink drains, then they could care less about how that happens. So, and we do get quite a few of these in our courts. So I just wanted the court to be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Deanie, is it possible for you to build a amendment or policy to work with both sides? Something that TCEQ would be happy with, and you'd be happy with, and Mr. Biggers be happy with?
Well, I think
Do it on a case by case?
A case-by-case selective enforcement process would not be approved through us, I can tell you that. But a process in which you do allow for homeowner maintenance, which I would like to correct this map here, because I have repeatedly brought up Kaufman County. He does not show it to be shaded in. Kaufman County, as of 2015, does not allow for any homeowner maintenance under any situation. And that is available for y'all to look up in your zone on our website. He brought out Harris County, where City of Houston is located. Harris County does allow for homeowner maintenance as long as they go through the same process that Mr. Coleman went through. They have to obtain their Class D wastewater license. So this map here is just a little bit deceiving, and it made me look out like to be a liar, so I wanted to make that clarification to y'all.
It made what? What'd you say?
It made me look out to be a liar when I spoke
Oh,
about
okay.
Kaufman County.
I haven't even seen it, the map, so it's pointed your way.
Well, right now, the city of Granbury does have it in their deals that a homeowner of his primary single-family residence doesn't have to get this if he is a TCEQ licensed maintenance provider or a registered maintenance technician, correct? If the homeowner himself is a registered maintenance technician, he can check his own, right?
That's true.
And that's the only way you can tell whether or not you got sufficient training or not. And I assume, Mr. Biggers, you are a registered technician then?
I'm certified through the A&M Ag Life.
He's certified through Ag-Relife. That is not a registered technician, sir.
It's not a TCE class. It was a one-day class through A&M Ag Life. The registered technicians are 2 to 3 days. I'm not sure what that is.
So to be a registered technician, you'd have to go through this COLA class?
Yes, it's a TOA class.
Well, see, like in a driver's license, you still got to pass a written and a driving examination to prove a certain qualification before you can get a license. And that's the same thing. How are we going to know that, how many schools are going to pop up where you can take a 4-hour class or a 6-hour class or a 2-day class if you don't have a certain minimum standard that you have to have? I'm basically for less government and for people being able to do what they want on their own property as long as they don't endanger anybody else or put the public safety at risk. But to me, it looks like that, you know, if you really want to do that, then you should go ahead and become a registered technician and then register with the county, and then you don't have the problem anymore.
Yes, the homeowner's also a licensed technician or maintenance provider that has property in Hood County, turns in a maintenance contract to us, just like Mr. Coleman turns in for someone else, for me. Mr. Coleman turned one in for me, and just for the record, I don't live in Hood County.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. If they turned in that, then you would know, the state would know, you would know that they have the right qualifications to inspect their system. You don't know if they're submitting anything else. It should be very easy for you to take that course and pass that course, Mr. Biggers, if you already got basic knowledge of everything that you're talking about. And that's what I'm saying. It needs to be fair for everybody. It needs to be a standard that the state or the county can look at and say, bam, if you get that registration, then you're qualified.
Yes, sir.
And then send it in.
Ms. Stacks and I have had many conversations about this, and we are in agreement that a knowledgeable, trained homeowner is the best for everybody all the way around.
Okay, and the only way we're going to know whether you are trained is if you have that registration or certification from that organization.
And that's where there are all kinds of driving schools out there, Judge, that teach a person to drive, but they still learn to drive and file with the state.
Well, but you still got the state of Texas that has the written test and the certain minimums you got to take. So you can have 30 schools on the thing. So I don't know if is there a test, Jeannie, that you can pass? Do you have to have the schooling from a certain place to be able to pass the certification technician?
If you're going to be the registered technician, yes, you would have to go to that class and take that test.
Okay. Now, let me tell you what,
And I'm not
you've had 30 minutes, sir.
And
You've
I'm
gotten
not saying, Mr.
25 more than anybody has ever got, but you were the one that brought it up, so the court has indulged you. I appreciate it. But that's enough.
And just for the record, Mr. Biggers probably has went above and beyond educating himself on his system.
That's why the court has granted him some indulgence on here, but we need to move along up here. 10 seconds, sir.
Mr. Colvin stated that his technicians go to a one-day school. Can we find out what that school is and attend that
That's
ourselves?
what we've been discussing, sir.
Well, that's why I want to know what the school is, so I can contact them and go to it. That's all.
Plus 6 months of in-home training before they go out.
Okay, well, whatever it is, hey, get with Jeannie. I want you to get your license. You look like you can do it. That's great. You get that, get the technician, man, that solves my problem on the thing. But do I hear them?
No, one more comment before we go to a motion. I don't agree with self-regulation without oversight on this critical issue, period. Now, listen to motions.
Okay, okay. Give us, well, as I understand it, if you get to be a registered technician, you got to send that into you, and then y'all still have to go out and inspect and see if they are doing what they say, right?
Yes, sir. The state of Texas gives the county the right to inspect any aerobic system one time a year
Exactly. That's what it is. Yeah, okay.
without a complaint.
Does anybody here like to make a motion?
So I'm not even sure to make them, I'm lost. So what you're saying is we're already in a spot with our regulations where if he goes and gets this one-day tech license, we're good?
Yes, sir.
Then,
Do we have to send any amendment to TCQ to bless this? If you go with how they can become a tech?
we're already doing it. We're already doing it,
The
right?
way it is it okay for him to become a registered tech and be it?
Well, if your order reads that you have to be a licensed maintenance provider or maintenance technician, and that's what's in your current order that's been approved by our executive director, then there is no changes needed.
Then I'm just gonna move, I'm tired, we need to move on. I'm just gonna move that we withdraw this agenda item and move on.
I'll second that.
Okay, just to withdraw it from consideration for today? Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Eagle to withdraw from consideration the
Proposed amendments, I guess.
this deal about the proposed amendment, second by Commissioner Deaver. Any further discussion, since we only used up about an hour of this committee about sewerage up here? It's been a lot of it.
A lot of crap, Judge.
A lot of crap is right, okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I think this can be addressed by looking at the amendment. I think it's in the amendment under Section 10C that says it on here, but let's go on because everybody's got stuff to do here. Hopefully, the next three items, everybody's going to agree to because they're very, very good. It's to authorize the county judge, who's a very good guy, a very patient guy, to sign the City of Granbury event applications for historic Granbury Merchants Associations for use of the courthouse parking lot for, and I'm going to do this, well, for General Granbury's birthday bash and cook-off on Friday, March the 20th, 2020, at noon to March 22nd, 2020, at 5 p.m. with proof of insurance, as long as we have proof of insurance.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion been made and second by Judge Massey, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, authorize county judge to sign City of Granbury event applications for historic Granbury Merchants Association request for use of the courthouse parking lot for the Harvest Moon Festival of the Arts from Friday, October the 16th, 2020 at 8 a.m. to Sunday, October the 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Again, proof of insurance required, made by Judge Massengill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Devers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Next one, authorize county judge to sign City of Granbury event applications for historic Granbury Merchants Association's request for use of the courthouse parking lot for the Country Christmas Parade on Friday, November the 27th, 2020, from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. Again, insurance provided.
Second.
All right, motion been made by County Judge Madison Gill, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, this brings us to item number 8. Consider and take appropriate action to approve the revised Hood County Library Meeting Room Policy and Procedures. Yes, ma'am. How are you doing, Ms. Logsdon?
Good morning, how are you?
Good to see you.
I'm just here to present the new policy for the Hood County Library meeting rooms. Due to the expansion of the library, we have obtained 2 larger meeting rooms and some study rooms, and lots of people call to use them, and so we wanted to be able to put some regulations in place so that we can protect Hood County's investment of the library.
Good.
Judge, yeah, we've been working with Ms. Langston and also Commissioner Eagle, and she's done a lot of homework, checking throughout the state with different libraries and see what they have for policies and procedures, and after 3 or 4 revisions, I think we've got something that's workable for everybody here. So we thank you very much for your hard work on that.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Hood County Library Meeting Room Policy and Procedures as drafted, the last draft from February 6, 2020.
And I'll second that.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good. Motion's been made in second to approve the February 2nd, is that right?
6.
February 6th revised procedures as prepared by Mrs. Logsdon. Thank you very much. Second by Commissioner Cotton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. The last item, consider and take appropriate action regarding Fire Marshal's request for authorization to allow take-home vehicles for out-of-county employees for the Fire Marshal's office. Fire Marshal employees are recallable at any time and are assigned vehicles that are not shared. Sheriff Deeds.
Judge, Commissioners, the first person that brought this up, I was the one that hired him when I was the interim fire marshal. We hadn't got any applications for a long time. We finally got one, and he lives in Weatherford. These people are on call all the time. We need them when we need them. We need them now. We don't need to waste time having them go pick up a vehicle and then head out to a scene if it's on the other side of the county, especially if it be where they're coming from, then they'd be wasting extra time. So with emergency management, with the fire marshal's office, with my office, with the sheriff's office, we have take-home vehicles, always have. We need those people to get to the incidents when we have them, whether it's a disaster, a major fire, a major criminal act, a murder, whatever. We need people to get there and start working on the situation. So I'm here to answer any questions. The fire marshal was out of town, so I wanted to come on his behalf.
Roger, I got a few questions. I don't know if it's a question. I did some figuring on the cost of what it would take for the 2 deputies to take their vehicles out of town. I took one of the deputies, that 120-mile round trip, 252 days a year, that's 30,240 miles. And I divided that by about 17 miles per gallon, which equates to about 1,778 gallons. And I used a figure of 2.25 a gallon. I know the gas right now is at $2, and so it comes out to be about $4,000. And then I added, that we changed from when I talked to Lynn McDonald, he said we changed the oil about every 5,000 miles, so that's another $360. So the cost of that one employee would be about $4,362. And I used the same formula with the second deputy, and it'd be $1,787. So it's about $6,100 it costs, and I believe these are conservative numbers, it's about 14.4 cents a mile. It comes out to about $24.40 a day that these would be the cost to the county. You know, I just don't know if this is, you know, the right thing to do. I don't know if we're picking and choosing, you know, because we have a policy that says no vehicles leaving the county. I know the mileage would be 57.5 cents per mile, you know, and that'd be like $69 mileage for one deputy and $28.75. It's just I'm trying to wrap my head around this and see how this is prudent to the as being a steward of the county to the taxpayers.
Going back 20 years when I was first started as the fire marshal of the county, and I was also a deputy of the county, and the way I looked at things, we had a lot of things going through the state at that time after 9/11, changing policies, getting interlocal agreements with other cities, other counties, especially the surrounding counties, to work together. And I always looked at it, if back in the days of being fire marshal, if we had a wildland grass fire that was heading towards Hood County, it would behoove me or whoever to go help assist them to stop that fire. And they thought it was great if I stopped it in Parker County, Palo Pinto County, Erath County, whatever the situation was. And there was many times like that. But I'm looking at it as the fire marshal of Hood County. I'm here to protect Hood County. So if I kept it from coming in this county, that was a great thing. So we have to work together with other agencies in surrounding counties, with emergency management. There's lots of meetings, lots of coordination. We all need to work together because of those big disasters. We all have to come together. We don't have enough of a employee base here to handle a big major disaster, whether it's a fire, flood, tornado disaster. The night of, May 15, 2013, we had a lot of people come in from outside the county, so we need to be able to go back and forth to do all that. So unfortunately, gas mileage vehicles is all part of that. So you guys are the owners of those vehicles, so I'm not, it's up to you guys what you want to do and how you want to do it, no doubt. My department alone, last month we ran 64,113 miles in the whole department. That sounds like an extreme, but we run about 60,000 miles a month on an average. So you got to pay for maintenance, mileage, fuel, all that, but it's all part of doing the job of serving and protecting the citizens of this county. So if you got people out of the county, I guess that just adds to it. So.
Do you know about how many times the fire marshals are called out in a year?
I guess I didn't put any statistics together like that. Years ago, I became part of the Tarrant County Arson Task Force. And when you have a big major fire, you can get all those guys to come down and help. But in turn, then you need to come and help them wherever it is, whether it's in Tarrant County or Parker County or the different people, the different cities, counties that are part of that. More eyes looking at anything under any investigation, whether it's a fire or, a murder or something, the more eyes looking at it, taking care of it, the better off you are. So I know the Fire Marshal's Office has been part of the Tarrant County Arson Task Force for many years, and that's a good thing. We got extra help when we need it. So that's just one example.
Go ahead. How many part-time fire marshals are there in this county? I mean, employed right now?
Five.
There's a few. I know.
Yeah, there's a few, and that's a great help when we have the one deputy fire marshal was just hired not too long ago. He's going through an FTO program with me. Jeff just came on board as a fire marshal, and it's hard for any one person. Back in the day, I covered 24/7 just because I had to. But having those guys available that are fire investigators, they're not they're not all peace officers, but they're fire investigators, so get them out there, get eyes on, take care of the business at hand for the homeowner, for the property owner, and to get a report out there so they can get their insurance coverage. So yes, there is part-time people that work some nights, weekends, things of that nature, so it gives everybody a break.
You know, I look at it like this too, you know, you got to also look into the wear and tear of a vehicle and the depreciation of all the extra miles that go into this. I'm not against fire law enforcement at all. You know, I'm just trying to look at this also as a taxpayer, not only a commissioner.
No, I understand. Like I said, it's you guys' decision, but in order to serve and protect the citizens from law enforcement, and then those fire marshals, deputy fire marshals, they're all law enforcement too. So, except for a few fire investigators, and what way it's been worked. Back in the day, I didn't have any part-time people. Well, no, I guess I did back in 2007, 2008-ish, around in there, but they pick up a car for the weekend if they're on call for the weekend, and so they have it with them and they respond as needed. If they don't respond anywhere, then it didn't go anywhere, and then they bring it back on Monday or Sunday night, and no extra wear and tear on the vehicle.
You know, if my numbers are correct, you know, the mileage part, as far as the county, it would be cheaper to pay them the mileage when they call in using their own vehicles.
Well, when it comes to some of that too, you need a vehicle that has your equipment so you're ready to hit the ground running. If you got your personal vehicle, I used to carry a lot of stuff in my vehicle, bunker gear and everything else, and I was part of the SWAT team, so I had to put overload chucks on my vehicle just because of so much equipment. So I wanted to be ready for anything, but you can't expect everybody to do that. So they're ready to hit the ground running when they come to respond to a call in that county vehicle, I guess is a way to look at it. So get people there to deal with it as soon as possible and serve and protect the citizens of this county.
Say, when they say that we have a policy, no vehicles would go out of county, you have a special circumstance, though, when you have first responders, and that's what we're talking about here. And in the fire marshal's department, about where we're talking about these two vehicles, as I understand it, there's 4 vehicles. And there's 2 pickups that Jeff Young and Brian Brantley will use for theirs. Then there's 2 extra ones there. There's an Expedition and a Tahoe. Isn't that correct?
Yes, correct.
And that we would want, or that those 2 vehicles, do they equip with radios and stuff in those 2 vehicles?
Yes, they're fully equipped with radios and computers too, the mobile data terminals, so they're equipped, got all the information there, and they can haul their working equipment too, so they're ready to go.
That's what I'm saying. You wouldn't have the computer and the radios and stuff in your personal car, so it's more than that. And is that person subject to a 24-hour-a-day call? I mean, if they get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning and there's a fire someplace in Hood County, isn't it quicker just to go straight from their house to the fire or to the emergency?
Most of the time it is.
Nuclear plant, than it would be to drive back to the EOC, which is where the fire department is, park their car, pick up the other car, and then drive to there? I mean, these are first responders in kind of a special circumstance. I mean, and as I understand it, this is Jay Webster, who I asked him to give me an idea because I'm trying to groom him for kind of the emergency management deal that's part of the fire department, because I, as county judge right now, get all kind of mails from this, and I asked Jay to give me, he's been on the job now 8 days, to give me a list of what he has to do, because I could see what I would have to do, and he gives me this that I circulated. I barely have enough time. I'm supposed to be in my courtroom in 7 minutes for my probate docket, which I have 8 or 10 cases. So I'm pretty well booked up myself, and I think it's to the safety of Hood County, like Somerville County, and Johnson County have the fire marshal's office divided into two, the fire marshal's department and then the emergency management coordinator's office. It's gotten that big. And I know that yesterday that Jay Webster got with Drew Whitaker about the cybersecurity, that has become a real big issue like it did last year when we had all those counties that were affected, 26 counties. And so that Jay and Drew are going to have to work together for that. We've got so many situations here that this is just kind of a special situation here, and I think it's in the county's best interest that we allow people that's in a first responder's position, and Jay Webster's position is a first responder's position, isn't it, Sheriff?
It is, it is.
I know we had a private plane crash on our ranch Sunday morning. Oh, we investigated, didn't we, Kathy? Excuse me, Judge Gwynn. And we had a fire marshal out then. It was one of the weekend fire marshals that was on his way to church. And he came out there in his church clothes, and the only thing I could tell him, he had on a cap said fire marshal. And I got to talking with him. He said, no, I heard it on my radio, and I came right on out here when we did it. It was a single engine fatality here. So I'm really in favor of this, not in all cases, but I think it needs to be decided on kind of a case-by-case method basis, case-by-case basis on who this person is and what they're going to do. And if they need all the equipment in a car, which they really do need to have the equipment in a car to be effective. So that's kind of my position on the deal.
Judge, that's kind of funny. I'm working on a new policy, and I handed out, we can't vote on it today because it's not on the agenda. And I talked to Melissa a little bit about this morning, and she's wanting to make a few more changes according to the IRS stuff. But this is stuff for y'all to review, and I'm going to put it on the agenda for next court to take care of some of the stuff you said, a case-by-case deal. And also, there's a couple of departments that was left out in the previous policy, which is IT and faculty maintenance, where they're not allowed to take vehicles home when they're on call. And the reason I got a kind of a red, not a red flag, but a flag up, animal control, which does an excellent job, when one of their employees on call, they're allowed to take a vehicle home. And I think that's good. I think it's a good deal. So I would like to further add to this. We can't vote on it today and rework this operations of use of county vehicles is to include IT, because they're on call 24/7. If one of their employees is on call, let them take a vehicle home, because that may be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, they had to come up here. Same thing with maintenance. I think they need to be included on this. But anyway, that's another date for the next court, and Melissa's going to do a little more fine-tuning on it, and I gave each copy to a commissioner for them to fine-tune it, and it's going to be on I'd like to have it on a vote for the last February court meeting. And if there's any more discussion on this, I'd like to make a motion unless somebody else has some more stuff to add.
Yeah, I got something. So do you have any deputies or anybody in your department right now that's taking a vehicle home out of the county?
I do. Patrol lieutenant, he lives in Weatherford.
And we have a policy that says not to do that, correct?
I had brought a number of different people before the court over the years. I had a dog handler that had a dog. He needed to be with the dog. We had to have the kennel in there. So I came to court and got those approved. And I don't, off the top of my head, don't remember the date when I brought our lieutenant to the court's attention, but I did. So I'd have to research that. But
so you have, in other words, you're aware that we do have a county policy that says vehicles are not to go out of the county, correct?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
County vehicles. And I'm not trying, I'm just trying to make sure that we have a policy that says that. And I guess you're telling us now that you have actually come into prior courts and gotten exceptions to that.
Correct, I did.
Do you know whether other departments other than yours are taking any vehicles home or out of the county?
None that I know of right now. And this, number 9 in question, they drive their personal vehicles in and out of the county. So there's none that I know of.
Okay,
Any other
thank you.
discussion? You want to make your motion?
I've asked my questions.
You ready for a motion,
Yes,
Judge?
sir.
And listen, folks, I know some people oppose this, some of them think it's a good deal. Coming into the new budget, we are going to, I think the way I've heard, rearrange the fire marshal's office and have a emergency management officer only. So I'd like to make this a recommendation and to allow take-home vehicles for out-of-county employees for the fire marshal's office till new budget year when the fire marshal's office will be reorganized.
I
New
second.
budget year.
Judge, I'm sorry to interrupt. Our county clerk just mentioned that there are 2 people who have signed up to speak to this issue. I don't know
But
who.
who are they? Raise your hand. Yes, sir. And that's right. You spoke on 4. You wanted to speak on 9, too. We'll get to you. Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
Larry Kiker. I live at 1806 Rockview in Precinct 4. Just to say, I'm a retired law enforcement for 40 years. And talking about out-of-county vehicles, that was an issue for us. At once upon a time, we had a guy who had taken his car. He was living in Midland County, and he was taking his car and going to the lake with it, pulling his boat. So this court needs to really get on board, getting an operation procedure, how to regulate what you do with it in the county as well as out the county. I'm against this motion because I think it's a waste of taxpayers' money. The individuals that live outside town has a second job as well, and I think it's a waste of taxpayers' money. The money should be spent here in Hood County, where there is a first responders. When they leave that fire department, them trucks are rolling, that's actually your first responders. It's not somebody that's living in Tarrant County. I'd rather have the money go toward those stations. Those guys can use the equipment there at that time, and those are the ones I want to see come out of house fire if it's on fire at that time, the first time. So that, I'm just short and sweet. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Rick Fry, live at 8106 Godley Road. I have 42 years in the fire service. I spent 26 years with the city of Hurst. For the last 7 years, I was the fire chief and emergency management coordinator. I taught 15 years at Tarrant County College and taught emergency management and fire technology, so pretty familiar with this. I'm with Larry in the fact that I think that we're better served if these individuals, we have fire departments strategically placed all over the county. They can take that vehicle to one of those fire departments in the evening, get in their personal car and go out of the county. I think it's a benefit. It's an encouragement for them to live in the county if they want to take a vehicle home. If they live outside the county, I think that we ought to compromise and they can park it at, the closest fire department. They're truly not first responders. Roger was sort of the exception when he was fire marshal because he acted in the capacity of incident commander on a lot of incidents and did a very good job. They're not carrying a hose and water, breathing apparatus, things that are going to be critical life-saving things. They're going to go, when they get there, they're going to collect information about, what they saw, what happened. It's an investigation. In emergency management, when an incident happens, it takes a while to assemble the team, and you hope that the people in the field are taking care of the first response, and yours is the secondary support to that response. And you want to do it in a timely manner, but I don't think it's incumbent that we spend money outside what we're doing. I would recommend that we look at a policy that, if you live in Weatherford, you park at North Hood County, if that's your way of travel, or in Crescent, or whatever. So you pick up that vehicle there and then you respond. You don't really know where that's going to be. It makes a little bit, but it's not critical they get there like our first responders who are volunteers have to come from their house in their own personal vehicles to pick up fire apparatus and emergency response vehicles, then to respond to the incident. So if that's just my personal opinion from my experience. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's the end of the discussion. You were in the process of making your motion. Mr.
Yes, Judge.
Hebert, would you go
Yeah.
ahead and repeat?
Consider and take appropriate action regarding Fire Marshal's request for authorization to allow take-home vehicles for out-of-county county employees for the Fire Marshal's office. And I would like to make a motion to allow this till the new budget. And that's when we'll have more discussion on what was discussed here today and allow us to get a new policy in effect. So being the Fire Marshal's office is going to be probably reorganized in the new budget with a single emergency management officer, that's when we can make the changes on this deal. That's my motion.
I hear a second. I'll make the second. Okay, so we got a first and second that we allow the Fire Marshal's office to take the vehicle out of the county until the budget, new budget, which would be in, the hearings would start in August, September of 2020. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay, with the caveat that I think we should change the policy first.
Motion carries 3-2. Thank y'all very much. That concludes everything on the agenda for today.